Okay, I thought I would do more of a unscripted video, kind of showing off my latest Unreal Engine creation. And I'm just going to hit play here and show you what I created. So this is a clay Godzilla Kaiju puppet that I 3D scanned a few years ago. And I used Mixamo to rig and animate and also create like attacks. It cycles through 3 different attacks randomly. And this is all to create destruction. So if I smack this, it breaks the crane. Each one of these assets I created using cardboard, and then I 3D scanned them to create the city. I even created cameras that when you step into the collision box, it goes into a different camera position, so you get like a top-down view here, and that was really cool to figure out how that works. And I created maybe like 3 or 4 different boxes and just sort of duplicated them all over the city. So I can go over here and we can smack the building and it gets destroyed. This is all using the chaos physics that is built into Unreal Engine, and I will show you how I set that up. There is a anchor field at the bottom of the level, and that anchor field is what is tying all the buildings to the ground. Because if you just create the chaos physics, it'll kind of bounce. So each one of these buildings, if you search here in the initialization fields, you can see I've selected the anchor volume for each one of these, and it kind of overlaps just a little bit so that they stay tied down. So let me show you the process of creating one of these buildings. So what I do is, after I get my 3D model from Reality Scan, I have all these static meshes here. And so we'll just drag in one of the buildings and make sure it overlaps the anchor field just a little bit. Then over here, you can go into your fracture settings and generate a new geometry collection. If you have your building selected, just generate a new geometry collection. And you can just put it in the folder. From there, there's several different fracture types that you can play around with. I usually use cluster because it's a little bit more realistic to like a building being destroyed. And so just select that, and you can preview the pieces that it generates after you've hit fracture. So you have the number of clusters in each of the fractures. And so the way that you have to think about this is each one of them has a different level. So we have level 1, and then when that breaks, then it goes, those pieces split off into level 2 and then level 3 and so on. At a certain point, you have too many pieces and it starts to lag, but 2 or 3 is a good spot for what I did. So you just come down here and you just click fracture, and it'll start to split the mesh. And to preview, you can change the explode amount, and so that you can, see your pieces and how they look. And that looks pretty good. So we'll just select this again and hit fracture one more time. Down here, you have the number of pieces that it created. So level 2, you have around 787 pieces. So, and then I'm just gonna check out, and you can see how the explode amount, all the different little pieces and how they splinter. Turn that all the way. So if we select that, turn that down. All right, so that building should be good to go. So if we hit play, we can come in here, and if I get close, smack it, bam, boom. And if you see, if I jump over it, it kind of glitches a little bit. So if I smack these, it just goes through my body because there's no collisions. But this one, we didn't turn off the collisions. So what you have to do is select it, go down into your collision settings, and if you look right here, you want to ignore camera and you want to ignore pawn. That's what it is. Yeah. Camera and pawn. So that when your character walks over the pieces, it doesn't jitter or glitch. And then from there, you can just take this building that I just created, and if we go back into selection mode, you can just copy and paste and put it in wherever you want. So we've got 3 buildings here. And that's basically how the chaos physics works. And you could do this for pretty much any kind of model. Like I did this for the cranes as well. And it's all based on the geometry, so it just gets destroyed in a way that like is logical, makes sense. A couple things I did for this scene is I also created these road textures. So these are just planes, and I took photos of just cardboard and drew the road lines on it. Just took a photo, imported it as a plane, applied the texture, and then for the ground texture, it's just a big piece of cardboard that I just took a photo of with my phone. For the water, I did the same thing, but I colored it and blue, and then the walls are also made out of cardboard. And so just sort of going around and placing the buildings in random places, setting up camera volumes, and it's just a little test world that I created using this technique. I really like sort of that handmade feel of it, especially goes really well with the sort of claymation view of the character. The characters has 2. Now this might not be the best way to do this, but this is the way that I figured out how to do it. Is it has 2. If we go into our character blueprint, we can see. This is all just using the third-person character blueprint. I have 2, and this is probably not the best way to do this, but basically I have a actor, the damage, and it's attached to a socket, and these damage are like explosion volumes that you can find. So if you go to create, so basically I created these 2 damage using the master fields. So if you just add a new blueprint class, you can FS master field, and you can add that as like explosion or something, and then drag that in, and then you have a couple settings here where you can change how much damage it does, and it'll basically create an explosion where this volume is. But what I did to create the damage whenever you like hit a building or punch a building is I tied these to the third person character controller using one of the root nodes on the character. So I put one on his hand and one on its other hand. And if we go into the content and select it, we can turn on debug, and then same with the other one, we could turn on debug, and you can see when I hit play that he has 2 of these explosion volumes tied to Godzilla's hands. And so whenever these intersect, it will cause damage. So not the best way to do something like this, but it works for a quick quick kind of like test, a little prototype. And it also, like, the reason I did it this way, so if you run into a building, it'll fall without, you having to like smack it. But the smacking it is also, it's pretty cool. And sometimes it works on a tick, so it has a delay, so you can't just mash the button and, destroy the buildings. You have to be kind of close to it. And you really kind of have to dial in the size of the volume, and if you stand inside of it, it'll break even more. Like that. Another thing that you can do with the chaos physics is when you select a building, you can change the damage threshold, and this is sort of the number you need to kind of dial in to sort of make it kind of break in a more realistic way. If you just have this number too low, the building will just explode into 1,000 pieces and get thrown across the entire map. So it has an index for each level that you created in your fracture settings. And that should make it fall in a slightly more, realistic way. So come over here and smack it. Bam. See how it kind of is, doesn't, like, the pieces don't fall as quickly. Smack this one. As compared to this, where it kind of falls apart a little bit more quickly. It needs just more damage to be, destroyed. And so, yeah, that's how I'm kind of creating the first level of my Kaiju game. Would love to add more characters. Being able to pick up buildings or pick up objects is what I'd like to add next. And add more characters like robots, UFOs, and really kind of make that kind of destroy all monsters melee vibe to this game. It's really cool. A couple things that I did with the camera settings is I added grain to the camera to kind of give it that movie feel, and made it night with the moon illuminating the city, and added, just simple point lights all over the scene to give it a little bit more variation. And that's it. So that's kind of how I created this quick, simple little Unreal Engine cardboard clay kaiju game. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe.